Hello students, my name is Diego and welcome to this short course about the International Test of English Proficiency, iTEP. Here you will find all the information you need to get acquainted with the iTEP test. And we're going to begin today's lesson by taking a look at the objectives for this unit. So at the end of this unit, you will learn the following: what the iTEP certification is, why it is useful, where it is accepted, where it was developed, what is the general structure of the exam and time, what the exam looks like, and what the format and sections of the exam are. And to do this, we are going to answer a big question. This big question encompasses the whole unit. And the question is, why is the iTEP test important for you? So to begin answering this question, we're going to begin by saying that the iTEP certificate tests are a suite of evaluations designed to give users a clear picture of test-taker proficiency at different levels of fluency in accordance with the Common European Framework of Reference, or CEFR. And the CEFR describes what language learners can do at different stages of their learning. Now, what is the iTEP certification? It is a 90-minute internet-based international test of English language skills and proficiency. The exam consists of 5 sections: grammar, listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Now, why is it useful? iTEP Academic is a very efficient, secure, accurate, and affordable way for colleges, universities, and intensive English programs to measure the English proficiency of applicants and students. The iTEP Academic is specially tailored to test the skills needed for higher education and the workplace. And as you know, it is approved by the Ministry of Education of Ecuador as a valid certification of your English proficiency. Now, where is it accepted? This English exam is one of the most widely used in the world. The exam is supported by more than 600 institutions, including the California State University system. The exam is available in more than 30 countries, and it is also used among businesses and governments such as Saudi Arabia, Colombia, and Mexico for large-scale initiatives. Where was it developed and by whom? It was developed in the United States by Boston Educational Services that developed the iTEP suite of examinations to provide institutions and individual test takers with an efficient, secure, accurate, and affordable on-demand language proficiency assessment. Okay, now we are going to watch a video that will give us an overall view of the iTEP examinations. So let's go ahead and watch the video.
iTEP, or International Test of English Proficiency, is a uniquely adaptable set of English assessment tools used by schools, companies, and governments. It's designed to be flexible and customizable so that all evaluating criteria, including vocabulary, scenarios, and question levels, are adapted to fit specific industries, needs, or age levels. That's why more than 700 academic institutions across North America, such as Arizona State University and University of Wisconsin colleges, accept iTEP for admissions from international students or use it for placement of students in their intensive English programs. iTEP also has a wide range of English assessment tools for businesses. These tests can be as short as 30 minutes while still providing highly accurate and detailed score reports in all skills tested. Companies like Honda, Royal Caribbean Cruises, and IBM use iTEP to evaluate the English skills of their employees and applicants. In fact, governments like those of Saudi Arabia and Colombia have used iTEP for large-scale English testing initiatives of students and workers in order to obtain national English proficiency data for use in employment programs and more. So why is iTEP growing so rapidly in both academic and corporate markets? iTEP's speaking and writing sections are scored by native English-speaking ESL-trained professionals. iTEP is extremely secure. Our item bank system ensures no two tests are the same, and our proprietary PhotoSure technology makes cheating by impersonation impossible. iTEP score reports are very detailed. Data gathered by repeated test administrations can demonstrate even the smallest improvements in a test taker's English proficiency. Likewise, it can help identify areas that require a bit more work. Give it a try. Call us or visit our website at itepexam.com and find out what iTEP can do for you.
Okay, now, some important information I would like to point out from the video is that more than 700 academic institutions across North America accept iTEP certifications, and countries such as Saudi Arabia and Colombia have used iTEP in large-scale English testing initiatives. So this shows you how widely spread the iTEP examination is accepted all over the world. Okay, now, what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at the general structure of the iTEP exams. And what is the general structure of the exam and time? The total exam time for iTEP Academic, iTEP Business, and iTEP Slate is 80 minutes, plus 10 minutes for exam preparation. What do the exams look like? iTEP exams are delivered via the internet and must be administered at a secure location or a certified iTEP test center. What is the format and sections of the exam? The reading, listening, and grammar sections consist of multiple choice questions. The writing and speaking sections require examinees to produce actual samples. Now, what we're going to do right now is we're going to go and take a look at the structure of each one of the sections of the exam. And we're going to begin with the iTEP Academic. The iTEP Academic features content, settings, and vocabulary typically found at educational institutions. iTEP Academic assesses reading, listening, and grammar skills. The exam is 50 minutes in length with an additional 10 minutes for pre-test preparation. iTEP Academic Plus assesses reading, listening, grammar, writing, and speaking skills. The exam is 80 minutes in length with an additional 10 minutes for pre-test preparation. Next, we have the iTEP Business, which features content, settings, and vocabulary similar to the world of business, commerce, and industry. iTEP Business assesses reading, listening, and grammar skills. The exam is 50 minutes in length with an additional 10 minutes for pre-test preparation. iTEP Business Plus assesses reading, listening, grammar, writing, and speaking skills. The exam is 80 minutes in length with an additional 10 minutes given to pre-test preparation. And finally, we have the iTEP Slate. It features content, settings, and vocabulary that is age and context appropriate for high school and junior high school examinees. iTEP Slate assesses reading, listening, and grammar skills. The exam is 50 minutes in length with an additional 10 minutes for pre-test preparation. iTEP Slate Plus assesses reading, listening, grammar, writing, and speaking skills. The exam is 80 minutes in length with an additional 10 minutes for pre-test preparation. Now what we want to do is take a look at the iTEP academic score equivalencies. And in this chart, as you can see, we are comparing the iTEP academic to other certification programs. And if we go to the top of the chart, we're going to see that a score of 5.5 to 6 in the iTEP academic corresponds to a score of 115 to 120 on the TOEFL IBT. And that would be a score of 9.8 on the IELTS. And that would be a level 5 on the Pearson PTE General, which would be a score of 81 to 90 on the Pearson PTE Academic. So here we can see how the iTEP scores correspond or relate to the scores in other certification options. Now, if you are familiar with these other assessment tools, you can see how our iTEP scores translate based on each test's Common European Framework of Reference alignment. And our scores reflect a wide range of levels and make it easy to categorize and group candidates. Now, let's take a look at the iTEP levels and how they align with the Common European Framework of Reference. As we can see, our beginner is an A1, elementary is an A2, intermediate a B1, upper intermediate a B2, advanced a C1, and proficiency is a C2. And as you can see, the CEFR is made up of 6 levels defined by ability descriptors, that is, what students can do. These qualities could be applied to speakers of any language. The chart shows how our levels compare to these CEFR levels. Okay, now let's go on, and we're going to take a look at the structure of the sections. And we're going to begin with the reading section. The reading section is divided in 2 parts. It takes 20 minutes. In part 1, you will find a 250-word passage followed by 4 multiple choice questions. In part 2, you will have a 400 to 450-word passage and 6 multiple choice questions. Only in iTEP Slate, you will have a part 3. But since we're basically looking at the iTEP academic, we'll just go on. Okay, what about the listening section? The listening section is divided in 3 parts, and it takes 20 minutes. In part 1, you will have 4 short conversations followed by 4 multiple choice questions. In part 2, a 2 to 3 minute conversation with 4 multiple choice questions. And in part 3, 1 4-minute lecture and 6 multiple choice questions. Let's go on to grammar. The grammar section is divided in 2 parts, and it takes 10 minutes. In part 1, you will have 12 questions where you have to complete sentences. And in part 2, you will have 13 questions where you have to identify incorrect phrases or words. Let's go on to the writing section. The writing section is divided in 2 parts, and it takes 25 minutes. In part 1, you listen and respond to instructions. How do you do this? You write a response of 50 to 75 words. In part 2, you listen to a topic and respond. You write 175 to 225 words to express and support your opinion on the topic. And finally, we have the speaking section. The speaking section is divided in 2 parts. It takes only 5 minutes. And in part 1, you listen and read a short question, and then you prepare and you speak. That is, you answer the question. In part 2, you listen to 2 sides of a topic. You prepare and you speak your opinion. You give your opinion on the topic. Okay, now let's talk about the delivery method. And first of all, we have to say that the iTEP exams are delivered via the internet and must be administered at a secure location or a certified iTEP test center, with the only exception of the diagnostic exam that doesn't necessarily have to be administered in these conditions. Next, we have the reading, listening, and grammar sections. The examinee selects answers from a set of multiple choice responses for each question. Next, we have the writing section. In the writing section, the examinee types written sample directly into a text entry field using the computer keyboard. And finally, we have the speaking section. The examinee records sample with a headset microphone at the examinee's computer. Okay, let's go on. Right now, we're going to talk about the timing mechanism. And first of all, each section has a fixed time allotted to it. If an examinee completes a section with time left, the examinee may advance to the next section, but the remaining time is not applied to the next section. Next, we have reading and grammar. Examinees are free to use any extra time to review and revise their answers. The listening section. The examinee is unable to review since the listening selections play only once. Next, the writing section. The examinee has a fixed time limit for each part, but may choose to advance to the next section before time expires. And in the speaking section, examinee has fixed time limits for each part. Okay? Now, let's talk about the transition screens. Following each of the reading, listening, grammar, and writing sections, the examinee sees a screen entitled Beginning Next Section. These transition screens give the examinee a 15-second break between sections. They also display the completed exam sections and remaining exam sections. After the last exam section, grammar or speaking, depending on the version, when this is completed, the examinee will see an end of test screen, which tells him or her to wait for further directions from the iTEP administrator. The examinee can exit the exam at this point. Okay, now, what I want to do now is I want to give you some general tips for improving your English language skills. It's important to take into account that the more you are immersed in the English language, you will have a better result on the exam. And it's important to remember that English is not a subject. It is a language. And languages were created, people created languages because there's a need to communicate. And through the language, we can communicate our feelings. If we are happy, if we are sad, we can talk to other people, tell them, what we're thinking, ask questions. So that's what languages are for. So in order to communicate in English, which is our ultimate goal, apart from preparing for a test and wanting to certify our language level, basically we want to communicate in the language. So it's important to immerse yourself in the language. And I'm going to give you some tips on different ways you can do this. So let's begin. Let's begin with the general tips for improving your English language skills. Tip number 1, listen to English language radio. Nowadays, on the internet, you have multiple options for listening to radio stations. There's tons of radio stations broadcasting on the internet, and there's, radios with different musical styles. You can sing along to your favorite songs in English. You can listen to talk shows and people commenting on sports, politics, fashion, and you listen to this programming in English and you develop your listening skills and you have fun. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Watch English language TV. On cable, you have the SAP option. So you can watch your favorite TV programs in the original language, because most of the programs we watch, the original language is English. So you can enjoy all these programs and in its original language. And also you have options on the internet. There are also internet-based channels where you can watch all these programs in English. Now, if you're watching these programs in English and you're having trouble listening to what the characters are saying, you have the closed captioned English subtitles option. So while you watch the program, you listen to what they are saying and you read what they are saying in English, not Spanish subtitles. Subtitles in English, and this helps you to develop these very important skills. Next, watch English language movies. Here, the same. You can watch your favorite movies in English and enjoy your favorite characters and superheroes and enjoy wonderful stories. And you do it in the language. And the same, if you have difficulty understanding, you have the closed caption option. Okay, let's go on. Read English language newspapers and magazines, such as US Today, Time, Newsweek, People, Discover, and others that use language at an appropriate level and that provide readers with a wide variety of word choices and sentence structures. It's important to read in English. If it's a printed version, you can even highlight the words you don't understand and then look them up. The same if it's online. Look up the words you don't understand and get informed. And so it's an important option. Let's go on. Use the internet and computer programs in English. Now with the internet, as you probably know, most of the information on the internet is in English. So there's a wide variety of information on different topics, and so you can really have a lot of material that you can use on the internet and improve your English language skills. Let's go on. Visit internet websites devoted to English language learning. The same, there are many of these websites that provide help in all areas of language development. So it's very important. Okay, speak English as often as possible, especially with native English speakers. This is important because you will be hearing different accents, and this is very important, all the body language that accompanies the spoken language. And you will see and observe how and hear how native speakers speak the language. And that's a good model, role model for you for the language. And now, if you don't know any native speakers, you always have the online chat groups for English language learners on the internet that provide peer learning and support in addition to improving language skills. So you don't have any excuses. If you don't know any native speakers personally, you can also use the internet and these chat groups. Okay. Make and review vocabulary flashcards of new or difficult English words. This is also very important. You can write down the words on the cards, and you can draw something or paste a picture. However, because this will help you to learn the word. If you have the word and you relate that word to an image, that helps your brain to internalize that new word, and then you will be able to use this vocabulary to communicate in the language. And keep an English language journal and or vocabulary notebook of new words. I highly recommend the first option, keeping an English language journal. Because just like it's important to speak the language and communicate in speaking, and it is important to write. And this is a good option because you can write about things that from your daily life, things, what I did yesterday. If you want to have a journal where you tell people what you do, what I want to do tomorrow, what are my goals, how am I feeling? You can write about your feelings. You can write recipes. There's many things that you can write about, and you're developing an important skill, and you're applying all these things that you're learning in the language, and use it in a meaningful way, which is very important. And finally, think of the English word for common objects and activities during the day. I don't know, such as food items, automobiles, books, talking on the telephone, taking the bus, going to a store, etc., etc. Okay? Now, I hope these tips help you in immersing yourself in the English language. Now, let's talk about, and we're going to end with this, with some of the benefits of preparing yourself for the iTEP test. Now, the first benefit is that iTEP certificates are accepted by the Ministry of Education in Ecuador. So you will be receiving a certificate of proficiency that is accepted here in Ecuador as proof of your language level, and which is accepted worldwide. So that's important. Next, you have goals. You have a goal, a specific goal, that is to take your iTEP test. And because of this goal, you will be motivated to study hard because you have a clear goal. Now, this goal will go farther than that because you will be improving your English language skills. And that's what we've said. The most important thing is to communicate in the language. That's our ultimate goal. So having this goal will help you to improve your language skills. You will get an objective assessment of your English language abilities. You will know exactly where you are. You will know what things you have to improve. Next, you will get a certification that is widely recognized. That's what we've said. It's a certification that is accepted all over the world. And finally, you will improve your English language skills. And as we've been saying, that's the ultimate goal. That's why we learn languages, right? Okay, so I hope these tips are also useful. And I want to thank you for your presence. And I will see you next time. And bye-bye.